Welcome to I Hate It Here, the podcast for HR and people professionals, making the hardest job in the world just a little bit easier. I'm Hiba Youssef.
It's about the integrity of people. That's why I wanted to do HR. It goes back to my personal core values because it alludes in, what I'm doing in my professional career. So another way that you can think about it, compliance acts if something is allowed, encourage acts if something is right.
Isn't hiring hard enough without guessing who's actually going to work out? The Predictive Index uses behavioral data to help you hire the right people and keep them thriving before things go sideways. Stop winging it and visit try.predictiveindex.com and figure out what actually drives your people. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast. I'm Hiba, your host and resident hater, and every season I tackle real issues at work. And this season, I like to always give my seasons a theme. This season is all about firsts, because if you've worked in HR long enough, you know that there are certain moments that change how you see the job forever. Your first layoff, your first investigation, your first time realizing that the policies don't actually protect the people they're supposed to. And sometimes your first moment of realizing that being in HR isn't just about compliance, it's about courage. Today's guest is Keisha Toussaint, and we're talking about one of those moments, the first time she had to deliver truly difficult feedback to leadership about how an unspoken employee of color was being treated, and what happens when the response wasn't accountability, but escalation. Keisha Toussaint is the founder and CEO of BCC'd HR, an independent employee advocacy and people strategy practice built to shift the power back to the employees, particularly Black and Brown professionals navigating the realities of today's workplace. After more than a decade inside corporate HR, Keisha removed what she called the corporate muzzle and built a model rooted in advocacy, strategy, and accountability. Through BCC'd HR, she provides confidential, independent HR support to help employees protect themselves, understand their rights, and move through workplace challenges with clarity. Her work sits at the intersection of policy, power, and culture, and she's committed to reshaping HR from a function of compliance into a force of courage, transparency, and real support. So today, we're talking about that first moment where the job changes, the moment when you realize what HR is positioned to do and what it should actually do. Keisha, welcome to the pod.
Oh my God, that was such a beautiful intro. I'm
getting emotional.
Yeah, that was so sweet. I love that for us.
I was reading it and I was like, holy shit, this is going to be such a good episode. I don't think people are ready, but we're here. I have been starting every episode this season with an opener, fun question, and I feel like you're going to love this one.
Yeah.
What is something you believed about work in your early career that you've completely unlearned?
Oh my gosh. This one really humbled me. So what I noticed was that I went to school for HR. I got my master's in HR. HR was my thing. I wanted to do this. But when I started getting into corporate America and really getting into the field, I noticed that HR was the bridge between employees and leadership. But earlier in my career, I believed that if you did the right thing, you told the truth, you advocated for people, you created a really dope culture, that the system would support that. Nevertheless, that was definitely not the case. I thought that HR existed, to protect fairness in the workplace. And unfortunately, what I learned was that it operates in a function of protecting pretty much leaders, protecting the business first. That was the priority. And that realization changed everything for me.
And I think I've also been there. A lot of that started the energy of I Hate It Here. When people are always like, why'd you call it I Hate It Here? I'm like, because a lot of HR people do hate where they are. They're trying our best to make positive change, and the system constrains us from doing it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You know what's so crazy here? But when I first discovered you probably 4 years ago.
Oh my God.
And I was
OG.
No, OG. And I was like, yo, she's so dope. Can we really say this out loud? And I'm and that's what really started to boost my courage of no, Keisha, it's when you're in HR or joining a career and it's this fraternity sorority, you can't go against the grain. You can't say this. Yeah. And for the longest while, and we'll talk about this, further in the podcast, why I wanted to start BCC'd HR. This was something I was thinking about 6 years ago. And I'm I wonder if there's a way that I can just be HR for employees and give them all the tea. And I'm well, no one's doing this. I don't know if I can. HR people aren't speaking up about it. And I'm a millennial, so we're like passing on the torch from boomers, Gen X, and then the millennials have it now, and we're like, man, I don't know. So it was a humbling. It's very humbling. I would say HR career is very, very humbling.
Yeah, the wanting to say the thing that you want to say. I feel like I'm in a very big place of privilege now because I have that relationship with my CEO and my executive leadership team where I can be like, no, actually, this is the problem. And if it's a person, like we have to fix it now because we can't let it like fester. And I've been really lucky where I got to do that. But I've definitely worked in organizations where I've like raised flags about inappropriate relationships, inappropriate things being said. And people have been like, oh, that's just so-and-so. Like he's an executive, it's fine. And I'm like, well, actually, this is not fine. And the fact that all of you are conditioned to think it's fine shows you what's wrong with the system. And I think, when you're on TikTok and everyone's like, HR is not your friend, like I get so emotional about it because I'm like, technically, actually, no executive is your friend because they all have fiduciary duties to the company.
Yes. They're the ones making the decision. We're just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger.
And it's so funny because I used to get like really heated watching these videos. And then I was like, you know what? I've been burned by HR.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone in the comments has been burned by HR. I would say like the average HR team maybe has this like bad behavior where we let things go or we don't know how to push back. And I'm excited that you picked the topic you did for today's conversation because I think it's going to be really helpful to a lot of people who find themselves in a similar position. So let's start back with your moment. Like, what was the situation? I teed up a little bit in the intro. And what did it make you realize about this difficult conversation you were going to have? Like, give us the context and the backstory.
Yeah, for sure. So there was a moment in my career where leadership wanted to terminate an employee for performance. And I put this in air quotes, performance, right? Because when I looked at, and then I thought about it and I was like, when it came to me, I was just like, wait, this don't make sense. This person's never been on my radar. So like, what's really tea? Like, I'm really about to clock it because it doesn't make any sense. So I went back and I'm like, let me go through my emails, go through their files. I looked back at their documentation, the history, and all I really saw was like, they've increased revenue this way. They sparked up, partnerships, et cetera, in this manner. And I'm like, okay, let's dig a little bit deeper of what's really going on because there was really no true performance issue. So what I saw instead was the department was probably going through this like massive instability and they needed to pick a narrative. So that particular team, there was so much leadership turnover. People were just like, okay, so how do I really do my job? Like the priorities were shifting every week, which was unsustainable. There was no clear direction to like what was the common goal of what was going on in that department. I'm just like, I don't like that. And what also was triggering for me was that it was towards a Black employee. And I'm like, yeah, it's not really much of us here. So I'm really I really need to have this conversation. And of course, being in your role, being in HR, like challenging leadership is just like, oh my gosh, this is like, you're going to end up losing your job. And I'm like, I want all the smoke. I want all the smoke. Okay.
I'm always like, fire me. Like, come on.
Give me all the smoke. Cause this is not.
But to be fair, I was not like this early in my career. Early in my career, I needed my paycheck, right? Like I didn't know how to save money. I was like stupid. I made not a lot of money. So like I needed my job. I'm at the stage now where I'm like, I have a little more flexibility. I've become a saver. So I'm like, if I get fired, I get fired. Like that's why I'm always preparing for the worst because I'm like, I don't want my circumstances to stop me from speaking up if something is really important to be spoken up about.
For sure. Yeah. And you know what's so crazy? It's like sometimes you kind of go against the grain of like, should I say this? And I'm like, well, my personality, like I would never go into an organization and change who I am just to make someone feel comfortable. I'm like, that's a you problem. I don't got nothing to do with me. My mom may raise me like that. And growing up in a Trinidadian household, we have such rambunctious like personalities, but we just do not take nothing from nobody. And I'm like, I'm not about to do that. So yeah, I'm challenging everything.
Okay. So back to the story. You get to the part where you're digging in and you're like, something's not adding up. The story is not the story, which if anyone listening doing an investigation or doing any sort of HR work always knows the thing that is usually being said to you is not actually the real problem most of the time.
It's not. It's
Okay.
usually something like more personal than the facts.
Always. Okay. So you're digging into this. What did you find out?
So I found out that, in all honesty, I think it was just more like a personality clash. And this person just like didn't want to deal with them anymore. And it was just like, oh, we're gunning for everyone. Like, oh, if I don't like you, I need you out and we need you out now. That was really what it was, because I'm like, I'm confused. Like, you can't give me anything. And then what I noticed, and we'll talk about this more in depth, but a lot of the defensiveness started to come out. That's when I knew. I was like, ooh, now we got something to work with. It's not about the performance. It's something a bit deeper. We're trying to frame it as performance, but it's never going to fold.
It's always performance. They're always like, it's performance. And I'm like, oh, is it? Tell me more.
Yeah, tell me more. When you say tell me more, they be like, gibberish.
Well, they're not doing what I told them to do. Well, did you tell them to do that? Well, no, they should just know to do that.
I'm not a mind reader. I didn't know mind reading was a part of the job description.
I'm like, what do you mean that they're supposed to know? Like, you have to tell people to do their job. Like that is, what? So always performance issues when someone comes to me and is like, I think I have a performance issue on my team. I'm like, okay, let's start at the beginning. What are you observing? Tell me more about performance. Are they missing deadlines? Are they not delivering the work? And then slowly, as you unravel it, almost like at this point, it's 95% of the time, Keisha. Like 95% of the time, it's a manager problem, not even an problem. I'm like,
absolutely. It's the manager. It's not the employee. And then when you have the conversation with the employee, they're just like, wait, what? I'm confused.
Yeah.
It's always like that.
At that point in your career, how did you think HR was supposed to operate when situations like this came up?
Respectfully, standing 10 toes down. Like, stand 10 toes down in what you believe. Speak up on the BS. Like, in HR, when something feels misaligned, you have the responsibility as an HR professional to raise the question. Like, I don't think people came into HR to be a yes person. It's to challenge ideas. We're not paper pushers as much as leadership thinks we are. Compliance, push the button on payroll, like that's beyond what we do. I think the biggest thing is like giving pushback. Like, you have to give pushback. If something doesn't feel right, if they're like, if you have that feeling of like, that's when you should like give the pushback, ask questions and get in a little bit deeper, because managers don't know what HR does. As easy as they think this job is, it's really not easy. It's a lot of emotions that you're dealing with, everyone's emotions, and having to get everyone centered. And I think also too, like when you're thinking back, one of the things that managers typically, that we said, is about performance. So like you say, where's the documentation? Is there a feedback history? Where is that development conversation? If any of those things don't happen, then what are we talking about?
Yeah, it is that like, for me, it's like that didn't sit right with me feeling. Where then I have to be like, what didn't sit right with me? Like, am I just being emotional because I'm emotional today? Or like, is it a real thing? Like, I always have to ask myself that question. And I told my current CEO when I was interviewing with him, I was like, hey, I just want to be really honest. Like, if you are looking for a yes person in HR, somebody who's not going to push back on every single way we do something, who's just going to enact what you want, I am not the right person for this job.
Yeah.
And his response was like, I think I remember at the time he was just like, well, I don't know anything about HR. Like, I'm looking to you to tell me the things that you need to tell me about. So
and that's the leaders I respect.
Yeah. Like, you can't, this job, if you're just a yes person, it can escalate and so many bad things can happen that put you personally, I think, in a really hard spot as HR.
For sure. And that's where that relationship kind of like clashes, and it's never something that's going to be maintained long term.
Yeah. Outside of personality, it was like, was there anything else specifically happening with that employee that made you feel like leadership was really targeting them instead of supporting them?
To be honest, I think it really just, it could have come back as like, this is how I want my team like structured, because maybe it was that employee was good for the business back then. And then now that they're probably expanding or growing, they don't fit. The culture fit. They don't fit the culture anymore. They don't fit the team culture anymore. And I always hate the phrase the culture fit, because I'm like, what does that even mean? It's a culture add, not a culture fit. Because if we talk about culture fit, I wouldn't be here right now.
And you would want everyone to be exactly the same, which is like never the intent to that.
It's boring. But I think that's really like what it came down to, was just like, well, I don't like it anymore. I need to change it. So we got to do this. Like, that's what it was. Outside of the personality, I think that was like the bigger picture. And I so heartily feel that way.
When you push back on them, though, what was their initial reaction? Because like we talked about the defensiveness that always happens. But in this situation, what did they say?
Shocked. They were like, I'm not really sure what you mean. When they say that, I'm not really sure what you mean. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what was I unclear about? What do I need to break down? Like, my question is very, very simple. So I think they were like taken aback because, I don't know, like, I've always been like the real cool, chill HR. Like, I'm not regular HR. I'm cool HR. So it's like vibing, right? And when that happened, they were like, Keisha. I'm like, hello, what's going on? And I think that they were surprised and shocked. They didn't expect me to challenge their thought. And when that happened, I went right to legal. I was like, I'm telling. That told me everything I needed to know. Their reactions like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, okay, this is going to be something. It's going to be something bigger.
I'm telling legal is like it's making me laugh, but it's not funny. Sorry. It's really
I was like,
it's actually like not funny when you have to get legal involved, because like not only are you as HR trying to do your job correctly, and people forget that like a large part of our job is also governed by laws.
Yes.
So it's like, even if you want to do the thing you want to do, legally, I cannot. And then my favorite is when like a founder is like, well, what are the chances we're actually going to get sued? And I'm like, why are we operating from let us get sued? Why are we not operating from let's do the law exists for a reason. Let's do the right thing. I'm not saying all laws are the best thing ever, but like a lot of the employment laws were started to protect the employee, not the employer. So I think a lot of times people are like, why do we have to get legal involved? I'm like, first of all, I'm not about us getting sued.
And I'm not about to get sued. My name not about to be in nobody's deposition.
Exactly.
Nothing.
I am not handing over my phone for discovery, because they're going to find a lot of texts that, I don't want read out. Like when they did the Theranos lawsuit with like Elizabeth Holmes, and they were reading like her and Sonny's texts, like she was like, you're the sun and the moon and my earth. And he was like, let's get that funding closed, whatever. Like, and if you're listening and you've not looked up those texts, you should, but they were so cringy. And ever since that day, I have lived in fear of discovery, not because I'm doing bad things in my text, but because I don't want my text read out loud.
Yeah, exactly. People look at me different. I'm like, listen, I said what I said.
Theranos taught me, I do not want to end up in discovery, nor do I want to be sued, nor do I need to. I just like wish people would trust HR and for me not to have to resort to that's illegal. Like, why would you not think I'm trying to do the right thing already? But like, I know with a leader, like if they're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm going to have to be like, well, that's illegal. And then they'll be like, oh, okay, now I'll behave. Was there ever a moment in the conversation like that you were pushing back on them, where you felt the room like dramatically shift and you realized potentially this wasn't going to land the way you wanted it to land?
Oh, for sure. They stopped engaging in the questions that I was asking. And the convo...
Ignoring you?
Not like they were like going around it, becoming a bit more vague. And I was just like, okay. That's when I noticed that the conversation started to move towards execution. Like, we need to get this done by X date. And that's when I realized that the conversation wasn't just about understanding the situation. It was more so about like validating the outcome of like, okay, they're getting termed regardless of what you think and how you feel. This is happening. And I was just like, all right, I can't change it. This is beyond me. I don't run this company. I don't write people's checks. So ultimately, the decision is not up to me. And it was very, very clear after the conversation just like shifted. They were just like, well, this has to happen. And I'm like, all right, cool. No problem.
I hate that. I mean, you sometimes wish for the best. You wish that the person will actually listen to you and internalize the feedback you're giving them. And then oftentimes, I think I have just learned in HR, there will be people who do, and there will be my people who don't. And the people, like, then in my mind, I've like drawn a map where I'm like, okay, I know who my allies and my advocates are, and I know who my enemies are going to be at this organization, because they're not listening to the thing that I'm trying to express to them or show them. Like you really, maybe this is like a dark thing to say, but like you really see people's true colors when you question their thinking
Yep,
and watch their reaction.
for sure. And you know what's interesting? When those things come up and, leadership doesn't take your feedback, etc., nothing is more satisfying to me when you told them that something's going to happen and it ends up happening. I just sit back, grab my popcorn, and I'm like, well, that's no longer a me problem because I said this was going to happen. And now you're scrambling because you probably got like a PR nightmare. Something's going on that you're getting sued. And now you looking to me for help. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I can't help.
I said what I said.
Yeah, I said what I said, period. That's it.
That's why I like write everything down too. Like I've been at Work Week for 4 years and I just looked at my 2-on-1 doc with both of our founders and me. And the doc is almost 100 pages long. Because I've been there and because I take notes and I'm just like, the notes are what keep me grounded in my sanity. Like I also have like excellent memory. It's a joke between me and everyone who knows me that I will remember the like most random details and things. But I also take notes because I'm like, I don't want there to ever be a moment where somebody is like, well, why did you decide that? And I'm like, whoa. Actually,
I'm like, I didn't decide anything. That was you.
54. You made the decision to do this thing. Like,
Bring
let's
out the
not.
burn book.
I'm just like, let's not. I'm not a fan of revisionist history. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm always going to come with the facts and the receipts. And if it's my fault and I did something wrong, I'll take accountability. But one of my biggest pet peeves is when someone was like, but why did you decide that? And I'm like, did I decide that? I decided that. You made the decision. I documented the decision in my document. Yeah, like we're good. It is so interesting navigating this role though, with like all your identities and how you show up in the workplace. Like as a person of color in HR, how did that moment shape your understanding of what the role would actually require from you?
Yeah, for sure. So I think you often see dynamics of others being overlooked. So employees, they tend to feel safer when you tell them what's really happening. But what that also means is that you're also sometimes the person that has to raise, specific truths to leadership. And they would rather not have that, right? So I think the biggest thing is that when you see those power dynamics clearly, you start to see that advocating for people would be misinterpreted as, oh, you're pushing back on us. Like, why are you being combative? Especially if you're a woman in HR, regardless of color. Pushing back is always of like, oh, you're being combative. And a lot of the times what I've noticed is that silence also feels that you're being complacent. It's just like, damn if I do, damn if I don't. Like, what is it really, And oftentimes, like, you start to see that, and it's unfortunate.
I think my biggest learning was like, sometimes I have to move differently than potentially other people in this role.
Yeah.
And I have to remember, you're right. Like when a woman pushes back, she is often seen as combative. Especially like you have read, you and I know all the studies, like the portrait of painting Black women as aggressive in the workplace.
Yes.
I think about that quite a bit. Like even as a brown woman, I'm like, I experience it to a certain extent. I don't think anywhere near as bad as Black women experience in the workplace, to be honest. But I still have like my own little microaggressions where people are like, she's
For
too,
sure.
like, even when you're too confident or you're too like firm, they're like, well, I guess she has opinions. She's opinionated. And it's like,
Yeah.
I always ask people to stop and think about like, would you say the same thing if this was a man behaving as such? Because if you would not, then shut the fuck up. Like,
Exactly.
with all due respect, like you don't come at me and say I'm too direct. So I got a lot of feedback early in my career that I was like too direct, too honest, I was cold at times. And I was like, I don't understand. Damned if you do, like you said, damned if you don't. But like, being direct is a good thing. Don't you want to know exactly what I'm trying to tell you so that you don't end up confused?
Yep. Put the same quote. If exactly what I just said, now just remove the identity, remove the person. What changed? What's the problem? So now you're just putting your own biases into place of like your own stereotypes of like what it should be. And I'm like, no, I said what I said. This is the season of I said what I said. Like, I wish I had that energy.
All of us want to know what makes people work at work. Like, how will they handle feedback or make decisions or work with the team without causing chaos? The Predictive Index uses behavioral assessments to show you how people actually think and work, so you're not guessing and hoping for the best. Maybe Mike needs structure to thrive, or Margot desires more collaboration. When you understand your people, work actually works. Take the behavioral assessment today at try.predictiveindex.com and finally get some real answers. I think the problem, I've thought about this so much, like I have the privilege of doing that because I have that relationship with my CEO, but I hear from so many HR leaders, they don't have that relationship with their CEO, their executive team. And it makes picking the team even more important. And I feel shitty even saying that at a time where like, I know how bad the job market is. I know how many people are actively looking for roles that you might not get to pick your dream team.
Right.
And I like, even working with my current founders, I was quite worried because they were my second set of first time founders. And I was like, I don't know if I can do first time founders again. Like, I pray to God this works out. I'm getting really good vibes from these two, but like it could have gone sideways so fast. We all know. And like, I got lucky where it's like a good relationship, you know?
Yeah.
It's tough because like, I wish everyone had the power to be the I said what I said kind of HR person, but often a lot of us end up in really crappy situations where people don't give us the power, the authority we deserve.
And then especially with having your employment at will, it's just like, well, you could get fired at any point. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna have to choose my battles.
These are hard times for anyone. Like if you're listening to this, I always say if you're listening to this, like obviously you're listening to
Yeah.
Sorry. Me just breaking the fourth wall here, talking directly to the listener.
Are you really listening to this?
Are you really listening? Just checking, like, can you respond? Are you listening to this? No, but like for people listening, like we know how hard and bad the job market is. So like, we're not saying it lightly to be in the I said what I said era. Like, again, it feels like privilege for me. I'm sure it feels like privilege for you, but like trying to find your little wins too, where you can say the hard thing that needs to be said, I think is also very important because, you know, we're often just like framed as this compliance function. There's laws, do what the laws tell you. But moments like this, the one that you were in, several situations I've been in, they demand courage. Like, how do you personally define that difference?
Sure. I think one of the things that keeps me in like my mental space doing this work is with compliance. Compliance protects the organization from liability, and courage protects the integrity of the workplace. That is the biggest thing for me because I'm a courageous person. I'm all about the compliance. Yeah, we get all that, the employment laws and all the stuff. But the courage is like, what is my reasoning for being courageous in this moment? It's about the integrity of people. That's why I wanted to do HR. It goes back to my personal core values because it alludes in, you know, what I'm doing in my professional career. So another way that you can think about it is that compliance acts if something is allowed and courage acts if something is right. So if you have that feeling of like, is this really right? And I'm pushing back on it, that's me being courageous. And if it's something that I'm like, okay, like compliance wise, like it feels unethical, but it is legal. That's the compliance part about it. And not everything, as you mentioned, like with laws is not always for, you know, the greater good.
Yeah. That was so beautiful. The courage protecting the integrity of the workplace, I thought was, I mean, like a lot of our job is about being courageous and saying the hard thing. Like when people go into HR and they're like, I don't really like conflict. I'm like, why are you in HR? Our job feels like you have to, conflict will always be potentially a part of this job because we are navigating like what people want to do versus the right thing. And I think like we also have to be ready to take some risks. Like looking back, did you feel like you were taking risks by speaking up the way that you did?
For sure, but I don't regret it. Not a damn thing. I don't regret a damn thing that I did because I know when I pushed back and speaking up, it always impacted the employee. And they've always felt supported by me. That means the world to me than anything else. And in those moments when, when I'm speaking up, when you know that you're taking a risk. So there's a possibility like, ooh, shit, if I say this, then I might get fired. But I feel good. I feel like ethically for myself, like my values is so big. And that's something that my parents has embedded in me is like working your purpose within your values. I know I'm going to be labeled as difficult. I'm not a team player or someone who just challenges leadership too much. I just say, oh, too damn bad. Too damn bad. Because at the end of the day, when I leave these four walls, this 9 to 5, I go back home, I have to sit with that decision. That's me. I have to sit with that decision. So if I feel, and of course, we as HR professionals, we've been in situations where we have done the hardest things when we know we didn't want to. The CEOs, the founders, they at home chilling in their big old mansion, chilling, not worrying about anything, but you going to bed, anxiety off the roof. You feel like you're going to be labeled. The employees don't rock with you. HR sucks. And then you get labeled and you have to sit with that. That's not fair. Yeah. It's not fair.
There's so many times I'm just want to be, when the employees are like pushing back on something, I want to be like, do you think I actually decided this? Like knowing what you know about me. Do you think this is a decision I would have made? That's like honestly what I wish I could say. But that's like shady, and then also like undermines the other executives. Like maybe I shouldn't be doing it. But every now and then I'm like, I'm so in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh my God, if you only knew the thing you wanted so badly, I also wanted so badly, but I don't get to enact my total will because this is not my company.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
It's very interesting. I mean, like, thankfully I have like a pretty good team that supports a lot of my decisions. Like at the time, did you feel supported by your HR team, or do you feel like you were handling the situation entirely alone?
I felt supported by my team, but I think the biggest thing for me was that I was the only one on my team that was like the outspoken one. And I think the relationship that I had with my manager, like the CEO did not like my manager at all, like did not respect them at all. And I was just like, girl, you making it hard for me because I'm telling you what needs to happen. And this person just they don't like you. They don't respect what you think. And then what's interesting is like when I give the pushback, they're like, oh, like, okay, Keisha, that's a really good point. I'm just like, well, like, I guess it's the person who's saying it. But I think for my team, like, I felt really respected by like the questions that I was raising, like they understood me. But I think structurally, the system wasn't built to reward that kind of advocacy. It wasn't. And I think that's one of the hardest parts about working in HR is that sometimes knowing something that is coming, but you're not allowed to intervene the way your humanity wants it to. That's the part. Like, that's when you feel alone.
Yeah, it's tough. The system, it's not really built for us to do the right thing a lot of the times.
It's not built for us.
We can try. No, and it's hard when you're asking somebody who's like, we have to make this business decision. It's like mission critical. And you're like, is it though? Like, is me firing this one employee because they have like a, different personality than you're used to, or is outspoken? Like, is that really going to change something? I don't know. That's my existential crisis for today's episode. I have at least one an episode. So here we are.
Yeah. What's interesting? Like, I think there's moments as HR professionals where our professional boundaries and our personal values collide. It goes against the grain. But there's been plenty of times and moments where you want to pull someone aside and be like, yo, prepare yourself. Something's coming. I know it's going to impact you. But you can't do it because the system doesn't allow you. That's what I always talk about in like content that I create or whatever. That corporate muzzle.
Yeah.
Ooh, that corporate muzzle is so real.
Yeah. That's so funny because I read a story once. It might have been on Reddit or maybe TikTok. Someone was like, yeah, my manager told me layoffs were coming and I was on the list to prepare myself. And I was like,
oh, okay.
I was like, wow. Okay. I was like, what would I do if I knew that? And I was like, I probably that's like such a hard question. I don't know if I would, like, if you had a different relationship with them, would you tell the employee? Like, what does that mean? Like, we are often also like the secret keepers. And
Yeah.
so people would always try to grill me. Even after I left organizations, people would be like, so how much did so-and-so make? And I was like, listen,
Yeah.
one,
Oh my God.
I don't work at the organization anymore. Two, I'm still not telling you.
Right. Oh my gosh. You know how much people ask me that? They're like, okay, so what's the tea? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. We just don't leave it at that.
It's
Because it's just
not
like
for me.
that. It's like, you know what, like if someone's an attorney, that's like that ethical grain where you're
Yeah.
just like,
It's also your integrity as an HR person. Like, I'm not about to be the HR person spilling people's secrets. That's, first of all, so inappropriate. And
yes.
secondly, why I hate a lot of HR teams. Like when people are like, everyone's gossiping about so-and-so getting fired. I'm like, first of all, that's bad.
Yep.
That is bad,
Yep.
full stop. Like if your HR team is the one spreading the, it's not for me. It's not for me.
We're jokes at this point. I'm just like, I'm all set with that. Don't be a part of it.
Well, because when also not to bring up the Coldplay CEO HR relationship, but like when that like exploded on the internet and everyone was making memes, one of my thoughts was like, that woman is never going to be able to work in HR again.
No.
Like she might never get another HR job. Like, and maybe because like I read another interview with her recently, she did one and she was saying like there had been like no relationship at that time or something. And I was just like, even if she says that, it just looks so bad. And we all embellish our own reality all the time. We're all fiction writers of our story. And so even if she said that, it doesn't matter. And then that potentially ruined her chance of having a career again in HR. And I think about that all the time because I'm like, I never want to do anything that would ruin my chance of getting to do this job because I know how few of us actually speak up behind closed doors. And I know I will always speak up. So I'm like, I have to keep doing this job. I have to keep doing this job for as long as I possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really interesting. Like how, and we've been at different organizations, we've played HR, different places. Like what did that specific experience teach you about how organizations respond to outspoken employees, especially employees of color?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that companies, organizations, they often say that they want the transparency and the feedback.
Lies.
But when employees speak up in a way that challenges like leadership or power, that response changes so quickly. It is the most mind-boggling thing that I've seen throughout my career, where I'm just like, well, you wanted the transparency. And then leadership becomes, like with employee surveys, I actually like despise them. I can't stand it, especially in a sense where there's no like outcome to it. So we're sending it.
But what are we doing about it?
What are we doing about it? And like when employees tend to speak up, especially employees of color, when they speak up, their work starts to get scrutinized a little more closer. It's like the thing.
Oh yeah.
Outspoken employees often become a problem once their truth becomes inconvenient for the company. Once it gives a slight of inconvenience, it's what transparency feedback? Excuse me, who are you? Who are you to tell me this? I've seen that play out time after time after time, and I'm like, man, y'all full of shit. I'm over it. Just so done.
If only people could hear the things I say when I'm not in meetings.
Oh, hey, people. I think employees. I feel like if employees ever found this podcast, which I'm sure that they do, but I know like, HR professionals are more like gravitated to it.
Yeah.
I think that the I Hate It Here podcast will go so viral from an employee perspective where they're like, oh my gosh, like HR really goes through this? Like, yes, we do. We go through this.
We do. We're
Little
not again. But some HR people are bad HR people. I will say that. I will say there are some bad ones out there. So if your HR team is treating you terribly, like,
yes,
I believe it.
Absolutely. And I think if HR professionals are like that, I'm just like, find something else.
Go do anything else. It's like the ones. It's the ones that are like, I do HR because I love people. I'm like, really? Because this job makes me hate people. This job makes me psychoanalyze every single person I meet and think about what kind of employee they would be and how I would respond to their comms if they were slacking me about something.
I'm like, I'm questioning your judgment right now. What's going on? You think this way? Now I'm going to create my own bias about you because you're unhinged.
Like it's It's definitely interesting. Like, we are going through it as well as HR. And I think like a lot of people don't give us the grace, but also the system is not to be trusted. Like you and I have said that. We
Yeah.
know that. So like we're held, it does feel like at times as HR to like an impossible standard because there is a gap between like what we can do and what we should do.
Yeah.
And you talk about that gap quite a bit. Like how how did that specific moment, the instance you were in, how did it reveal that gap to you between what we can do and what we should do?
No, I feel like HR has the potential to be one of the most powerful functions in an
Yeah.
organization. So much power because if you don't have employees, you don't have a business to run. So
There's
if you
nothing.
have HR, it's resources for humans. Like that's our function. It's for the people. But oftentimes I think, the gap between HR and like what we can do inside of a system and what we should do is about, I think fairness is really the real goal here. And oftentimes that gap is a part of what led me to build BCC'd HR because I feel that employees really deserve that true advocacy that doesn't have that constraint with the internal politics, right? So for me, it's like we know we know that employees want to do great work. They spend majority of their time at work. And what we get, 2 days? 48 hours of freedom on the weekend, if that much, right? If your job doesn't require you to be on call and all the things.
Yeah.
The least that you can do is give them a workplace that's healthy, that they're able to just thrive in. But we know that doesn't happen. That's like 30%. That's such a low number, but it's like 30% of that.
Yeah.
It's different. It's very, very different.
It sometimes though in conversations, like I'll be like, hey, like as the employee, you can ask for this. Or like I'll be like in a termination conversation. I'm like, the person's like never been terminated before. And they're like, oh my God, never. And I'm like, hey, like, you can ask for things like just because I'm giving you this. Like,
yes.
So even I try to do that advocacy for them internally, but you're right. There is a gap between like what we can and cannot say. And I like, I'm the HR friend everyone comes to for HR advice outside of my company, obviously.
Yeah,
And my
same.
friends are like, you're the one person I know will tell us what to do. And I like feel for my employees so hard because I'm like, there are times where like I am constrained by internal policies where I can't do the type of advocacy I desperately also want to do.
Yeah. And what's crazy? That is exactly how I felt. It was like, I'm the HR friend that everyone's coming to, like, yo, you got an HR problem? Go to Keisha, like ask Keisha. And I love that. And I'm very, very honored. But I wish that I was able to do that internally. Well, I don't got to do that no more because I work for myself, but
I'm my own
now,
boss now.
now I can do it. But I think when I was, in my career working in corporate HR, it was just like, man, especially when you know that you have such great employees and they bust their ass and they work and they do great work and they're not they're not the annoying employee. They're the great ones. That's when you're like, man, I really, really wish, but we can't, unfortunately.
No, we're definitely held to, we have some guardrails between what we can and cannot
We definitely do.
It's the job I love this job, but on days I'm so frustrated with this job. And that's like one of the instances where it's like the push and pull between what I want and what the job requires and like what I should do and what I don't want to do and all of that. It makes it hard sometimes to do this job. It's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah, for sure.
For people who find themselves, if another HR professional finds themselves in a similar situation to the one that we have been talking about during this episode, what signals should they pay attention to that something bigger is potentially happening beneath the surface?
Oh, for sure. Randomly, I think the biggest thing, when a narrative about an employee forms faster than the facts. That's like, what's really going on here? I think that's the biggest thing. That's when you know something deeper is happening. When everything starts to pile up and it's beyond the facts, it's like, that's when you have to side eye it and be like, okay, what's really going on here? Dig a little bit deeper, even if it's just like documenting, questions and things for yourself, for sure. I think you You should definitely do that.
I love that advice. Always be paying attention and be observant of the narratives being spun about people.
Always. And then notice how they talk about people. All of a sudden it's a problem. For the employee, that of course HR knows the high performers, low performers, medium, whatever, right? We know. But when it starts to a random switch just happens, that's when you know, okay, something's happening. And you kind of got to ask questions and kind of like play a part, but be curious. I don't think leaders would notice when you're being curious strategically.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Yeah.
How did this entire experience influence your decision to eventually step out of corporate HR and build BCC'd HR?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was how it impacted like my mental health. It impacted my mental health. I'm a mom of 2 boys. I have a soon to be 6-year-old and a soon to be 3-year-old, 2 energetic boys. And what I noticed was that the things that was keeping me up at night, like there were so many changes, layoffs, just like so many changes happening in the climate that we're in right now. I was giving my family like 30% of me. That sounds really low. Not even 50%. 30% of me. When I came home, wasn't in the mood to do homework. I wanted to go to bed. At nights, I would cry. Like, I'm just like, I'm losing friendships. And yes, there's a blurry line, working in HR and all the things that you're doing. I think it's very different, but it takes a part of you because there's a lot of morality that comes with that. And you're human. We're human. Everybody has HR for them, but who has HR for HR? Our peers. That's really it. I think that was the biggest thing for me of like why I wanted to build BCC'd HR was I wanted to get back to like what my core values were and my alignment. Alignment was so big for me. And I was like, 2026, I'm stepping into alignment. And I needed to do that. I was like, this is what's going to make me happy. And I know I'm going to do great work. I'm doing God's work. I'm doing great work. That was the biggest thing for me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's so exciting, like what you're building, because you're right. There isn't much resources for us outside of each other, right?
Yeah.
We like have each other. I have a community called Safe Space. Like it was basically born because we had no one to go talk to about these things. And then you have like CEOs calling us dummies and you're like, excuse me, I know how to do my job. So like, I mean, I'm so glad you did that. And when a job starts taking more of you out of your personal life, I think that's like a really clear indicator that something has to change.
It's a big one. I think it's the best way for us to like protect the integrity of the work that we're doing and stepping outside of the system that limits that. That was the key thing for me.
Love that. If you could go back and talk to the version of yourself that was walking into that first difficult conversation, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to trust her instincts. If something feels misaligned, if your body usually tells you and recognize it before your brain can articulate it. It can, like you just, and what they say is like a woman's intuition. Like that is so,
but it's so true, actually.
Yeah. It's a woman's intuition. Trust your gut. And I know that there's males and, things, professionals and, in HR, but I think just like trusting your intuition, we're in this profession. Like, yes, we've studied it. We've gone through experiences, but you just know, you feel when things are off. And I would definitely remind her that asking questions is a part of the responsibility of your role. You're not just a yes person. Like, don't be afraid to do that. I would tell her, to advocate for fairness, and when something feels off and it makes people feel uncomfortable. A good friend of mine always says, she said, the beauty of growth is having those difficult conversations, and you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing.
It's how you know you're growing. Like if you are on autopilot and things are just easy, potentially you're missing the opportunity to grow and flex in ways that are possible.
Yeah, for sure you can.
Love that. For people who I've listened to this episode and love you so, so much, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Keisha Toussaint. Follow me on all social media platforms. It's just BCC'd HR on TikTok, Instagram, Threads. You will not find me on Twitter. And yeah, they don't call it Twitter. Excuse me. Whoo, child, that's how you know I'm not on Twitter. X. I'm not on X.
No, we still call it Twitter, actually, to be clear. If we're there, I'm still calling it Twitter, okay?
Right. Yeah. But I'm definitely on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok.
I'm going to go find you on TikTok. I have to make a TikTok today anyway. So I'm like, I'm going to go find you and follow you.
So good on TikTok. Oh my goodness.
I've been having some fun over there. I just like, I'm like, maybe I should make more chaotic content because, God, there's so much more than just this HR job. Keisha, I'm a whole person, okay?
A whole person. We are humans outside of the profession, literally.
I love that. We are humans outside the profession. Quote it. We're done.
Yes.
Mic drop. We killed it. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been such a blast.
Such a blast. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. Keep up with all the latest HR resources by subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen. And if you love I Hate It Here, tell an HR friend. I'll see you next time.